Hi everyone, it's Dexter from A2K, and thanks for joining us for today's webinar using Infraworks Building Facades. Technical consultant Dean will be presenting for us today. So before we start, we'll just go through about A2K, all about fostering innovation through consulting and training. A2K Technologies plays a vital role in helping infrastructure, building, mining, construction, architecture, and manufacturing industries reach full potential by delivering complete technology solutions and support services such as education and consulting. We work with visionaries to shape the future of design and in turn enable them through innovation to minimize risks, improve productivity and achieve excellence. A2K Technologies is considered the business partner of choice and trusted advisor by vendors and clients. We partner with major software and hardware vendors to meet our clients' technology needs. We strive to exceed client expectations by pinpointing their challenges and delivering solutions through experience and innovation. We work with clients and companies of any size nationally and abroad. Over to you, Dean.
Thanks, Dexter. All right, for those who haven't met me before, this is a bit of my background. I see there's some names that I recognise there on the list of attendees for this webcast, so hello to all of you. Today, we're going to be looking at building facades in Infraworks. Now this building here, we don't really have any facade that's going to match that. This is the council building in Nelson that I used to work at. And it's one of the sort of well-known landmarks in Nelson. It's one of the larger buildings. It's right on the main corner. Most people would recognise that live here. Well, in fact, they'd all recognise that, but we'd like to have something that they could recognise in Infraworks that would match that. Like I couldn't tell you what the facade of the third building down the main street was, but everybody would recognise the council building. So the idea behind this webcast is to produce something like that, but simply using the tools that are already in Infraworks. It is possible to bring in or make things in SketchUp and bring them in. So if you are already a SketchUp user and you can use it quickly, and many people can use it very quickly, perhaps you could construct something like this in not too much time. I still think probably using these things that I'm about to show you in Infraworks are quicker. However, if you want it exactly perfect, you probably need to go to SketchUp or something like that. However, we can get pretty dang close, as I hope you'll find out in the next hour. So this is obviously off Google Street Map there, and you can actually do a lot of things with that as well. So things we're going to be looking at in a moment, or in the next little while, is first of all, the standard facades. How close can we get to that building just using the standard facades in Infraworks? Then we'll look at what I call interlacing the facades. Then we can add city furniture, and that will help flesh out those facades that we're using. And then we'll look at adding photographs from reality, and that's what I'll look at the building on the opposite side of the road, which is the cinema. We'll put one of those in near the end to show you how to do that as well. Now, I'm not going to go into the whole process of actually making an Infraworks facade. I have looked into that when Infraworks was much younger. And it's ridiculously difficult because they have to be dynamic. As you stretch the length of a wall or the height of it, they have to put in extra stories, they have to put in extra windows and whatever else is built into it, be it balconies and all those sorts of things, steps ins and outs. It's really quite a complicated thing to do. And you'd have to really be willing to invest some time in that to go and build one yourself. To be honest, it would be easier to build it in SketchUp and faster than make your own facade. And also, for those who are Revit users, you can just simply bring in a Revit design you've already got and pop that straight in. Would give a much better result than building your own facade, I feel. But I think, yeah, I think it is an Autodesk University paper that I saw for doing one of those if you really, really, really want to do that. However, we're going to be looking at more simpler capabilities or workflows, much more user-friendly to somebody of my poor modeling skills in any other software. So let's do a little demo, shall we? Let's go through to Infraworks here. All right, so this is the city centre of Nelson, where I'm currently broadcasting from, top tip of the South Island in New Zealand. And I'll try and sort of not rotate this thing too quickly, because this will be a fairly graphics intensive webcast, and so hopefully it won't, it'll transmit through the web a little better. So the first thing I'm going to do is zoom in on the building that we're interested in. So if you just build this out of Model Builder, which is what I've done, this is what you get for the council building here. Up in the back there's the little cathedral, which was on our little street view up the back, and that's about as much as you get. So not for locals anyway, not very recognizable. The first thing I want to do, and some people don't or haven't found this out, is that all these facades are flat. They're basically just an image on a flat surface, but Infraworks does do a lot better than that. So there are some settings up here, top right, a little cogwheel. And if we go to the model generation on the left, building facade detail, I think when you first start it up, it's either on medium or low, which gives these flat facades. If we flick it to high and go OK, it won't immediately update until close it and reopen it, or we can go into the tools here also on the right at the top and regenerate the model. So I'm just going to regenerate this one. For those who have used Infraworks, you'll know that these timelines down the bottom are ridiculously non-linear. It started off about 2 minutes there, and it won't take nearly that long. Telling me 51 seconds, 54 seconds, but it's going to, there we go. All right, so yeah, you don't trust those too much. All right, so we've regenerated that. Going to have another close look at that. If I've got a bookmark in here, actually, yep, here we go. I'll use the bookmark to go there, faster than panning. All right, so as you can see, our facades have now gone three-dimensional. Some of them are beautifully detailed. Going to have a look at this one. This is like a, I guess a motel room or something like that type facade, with all the railings and these ones over here, with all the mullions on the window and all that sort of stuff going on. Very, very detailed. And so that's how you get your 3D if you haven't seen that before. Now the actual council building facade, yeah, a little better, but nowhere near close to what it actually is. So we can try some different facades. Now, there are a whole lot of them in here already, as you may or may not know. I'm just going to bring up my normal tabs that I keep on my right-hand side here, and one of them is the style palette, and we've got a tab called facades. Now, I've played around with these for a little while, and it is simply a matter of playing around. So if we go for the marble and stone, you can see there's lots of those. This particular one that I found worked quite closely was concrete and glass, and piano. So if I drag that onto the roof, it will apply that to the whole building. And so kind of close and close-ish in terms of got those sort of balconies and things on it. I don't know the height's quite right yet, but we'll work that out in a moment. You may or may not know that if you want a blank wall or a different wall, you can just actually drag a style onto an individual wall rather than the roof, and it'll update just that wall. I think we'll find there's one in here under, might be under concrete and glass, marble and stone maybe. Yeah, rundown, which is just a rundown blank wall of tile. No, it's concrete actually. So you can do those if you want to. I don't really, so I'm going to undo that one and undo that one. Undo button is nice. Okay, so that's what we want. Now, if you recall, let's bring up my PowerPoint again. We'll go back to that other picture. Here we go. We've got this big tower in the middle. We've got a different sort of roof. We've got something close to those balconies. It's as close as I could find in the default facades. So let's keep going with that. Now, let's do something about this tower, shall we? Again, to get this whole shape of it modeled correctly, maybe SketchUp, maybe even AutoCAD. You could make that shape as a solid in AutoCAD, apply a texture to it and bring that in as a 3D model. In my case, I'm not going to do that. All I'm going to do is use a standard facade, and I'm going to make a circular tower. So how do we get a circular tower in here? Anybody tried to draw buildings? You basically click a whole bunch of vertexes to build the corners of a building. Hard to make a circle. So let me go try or bring it in. Or in fact, go and have a look at Civil 3D. And we can make a circle there very easily, and we can bring it in. So let me bring up my desktop. Oops, desktop. And we'll start up Civil. And we'll have a drawing in here that I previously just took the ground surface from this model in Infraworks and exported it out via IMX to get the correct location of where I'm dealing with. So I just took the surface and some alignments, and then we can make a circle in there. So let's go and open that. Open. Be nice. Here it comes. And we've got the webcast. Find it. Infraworks. No. Name of the folder that I had. Oh, it's in here, isn't it? IW Facade webcast. There it is. Okay, and this is the drawing that I exported. I'm going to turn on the map data. Yep. To see the aerial photograph that Bing Maps has underneath here. So this is my export, and simply if I go into this image coming up, or is it not coming up? I think it's just sitting there thinking about it for a minute. Yep, there it comes. Okay, and so based on the aerial, I was able to just, not very good aerial in this one, make out where the circle should be and its approximate radius. So we simply can then export that as a SDF or shapefile, and that will read into Infraworks as a circle. So I'm going to map export that. By the way, this is also a good way to make cul-de-sacs. It draws a circular road. Instead of us making this a building, you tell it to be a road, and then you can join other roads into it, and that gives you a cul-de-sac head very easily. Oh, I've got one there already, but I'll make another one. Actually, we'll put it out in the other folder. And we'll call this one tower. The tower SDF, just a spatial data format file, a GIS file. Go okay. Select the object I want. It should be that one, I think, to go and pick it. Yep. And that's about all we need to do. It should be already in the correct, this point light or polygon, in the correct coordinates. So that's what's going to go on it. Don't want to convert it. Trees close polylines as polygons. I will need to do that if I want to have it as a building. So that should do it. Go okay. As a map polygon, that is. All right, that's written out. Back to Infraworks. Infraworks, here we go. Okay, so we want to bring that in. We go to the data sources. We come down to the drop downs here. We're going to read in. We might look at it, could be an SHP, but it's actually easier. I think it's an SDF because it's only one file. navigate to where I save that on the desktop. IW Facade webcast, and it's this tower SDF. We'll go OK. We need to configure it. We tell it we want it to be a building. If it was a cul-de-sac head, you'd tell it to be a road, but we want a building. I'm not going to put any facades or anything on it. It's got a 10-meter roof height, fine, that'll be it. I normally check through to make sure the geolocation is right. Insert TM should be fine. We don't, yes, we do want to drape it on the surface, or it'll be down at 0 elevation. Don't need a tooltip, the table, that's the script that's going to run. Going to go close and refresh. And there's my tower. And if I drag it up, I can set a height. Now, let me see, I think I did work out the height that I wanted this to be. Yes, here we go. So if I click the top of that, I can actually type in the height that I want. That was a good guess. It wants to be 38.5. Okay. 38.5. Okay, and so we want to cut back our building around this. So simply pick the building, come down to the bottom edge, you can right click there and go add vertex. And you can shift that vertex so it can into more of a plan view. I'm going to shift that back this way, maybe about there. Add vertex. It's easier to do these in plan view. Get a step back in it, maybe about that far. This has actually got the lifts and stairwell in this tower, is what it's actually got in it. And that one there should be able to snap to 90 degrees in there. Whoops, that's not 90 degrees. I actually need to pull that forwards, but anyway. There we go. All right, so getting closer. If we're not completely happy with the position of that tower, we can just obviously move it. It is a separate building. And this is kind of what I'm talking about with interlacing of the buildings. Actually, that one probably wants to come along to here. I did used to work in this building, so I kind of know what it's supposed to look like. All right, that's a start. We probably want to look at the building itself now. So if we go back to the original or the picture, have a bit of a look at that. How many stories? Got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 before the green bit, 6 stories. And then we'll play around with the tower a little more. So the tower itself, though, it doesn't have, it's not a particularly good color when it comes in. It's just got some default colorings. So we can have a look at the style palette again for the tower. Let's try now. I did play around with it again. Again, it was just a play around to try and find the best material to apply to it. And I found, strangely enough, all the facades weren't particularly good. The roofing, one of the roofing materials did quite a good job. Slate blue, strangely. Slate grey, slate blue, there we go. Drag and drop that onto the roof. And, oops, that's just the roof, I think. Onto the wall then, there we go. Right, that's not the one. Oh, maybe I did put that on top. Okay, we'll just put that on top then. And the, or maybe I left the side, and actually maybe I left the side just as it was, so I'm going to undo that. That's not the best look for concrete. There we go. Or slate grey maybe. Yeah, that's better. I'll run with that one. Okay. As you can see, a little bit of playing around. Now on the roof of itself, just experimentation basically. On the roof itself though, let's try another one. So we've got other materials. We've got footpath materials, sidewalk as they would say. There we go. And there's one in here, grey square tile. Grey square tile. 1W2H, yeah, I think it was that one. Just put some a tile shape on the roof. Yeah, that'll do for you. Okay, so that's a start. As you can see, it's drawn the circle by lots and lots of vertexes when you brought in that shapefile. You know, really hard to draw that in here. The easiest way to do it is to bring it in as you want it, when you want it. Okay, now let's look at the positioning of this thing. So it's kind of a compromise between the width of that top of the tower and the middle of the tower, but we'll go with that. All right, so the other thing we want to do, whoops, turn that off now, I think, is back in Infraworks here. Oh, by the way, if you've got questions and things as we're going, type them into your toolbar for the meeting. There's a Q&A section, and there's also the chat if you want to put it in there. Either of those will work fine. I'll check them at the end. We should have about 5 minutes or so at the end with a bit of luck. Okay, so let's reduce the height of this. So the actual building itself. So let's make that 21.5. And that should give us about our 6 stories total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, okay. And at the bottom, it's actually remarkably got something very similar to what's actually at the bottom of the building anyway. There was actually an entrance here. There's an entrance around the side as well. But, and it's also slightly different. It's a different color to the rest of the facade. So it's actually remarkably good, this facade. What we've, oh, that's interesting. Okay, we'll play around with that later. It's just going, with this particular facade, it's put a big stretch in the middle here without any we call it facade on it. We call those things balconies. That's the word. We'll deal with that in just a sec. So on top of here, we wanted that green roofing area. Now what we can do, this is what I call interlacing. We've got the tower pushed inside. It's not a separate building, pushed inside this building. This one, I'm going to actually duplicate it. So I'm going to go Control D. And I'm going to go Control V to place it. Sorry, no, I don't need to go Control D. I just double click where I want to place it. So I'm going to try and get it almost in the same spot, and that looks pretty good. Double click to place it, and I'm going to move it up. And we've actually just duplicated the shape of it. We can change its height to be just the height of that green roof material. So that's 8 meters. Oops, about 8. All right, and we can put another material on it. So I'm going to go to my, just deselect that so I can see what I'm doing. Materials, roofing, and metal ribbed. So that's for the roof, and that will, and so on. Now you will need to do each wall if you're putting material on, because it applies that to the roof when you just drag and drop. The roof only, that is, when you drag and drop it onto the roof, because the roof can have material applied. Well, that's how you put a material on the roof. All right, so getting close, and then we just position that down a little bit to sit on the roof. I can play around with the positioning of that as much as I want. Now, the other question was, okay, what about this blank piece in the wall? Well, that's just a coincidence or consequence, that's the word, of using this particular facade. So how about some more interlacing? Now, oops, so my cursor's gone weird there, but oh, there we go, let's come back. So what we can do is make another building and do some more interlacing. So in this case, I'm going to go create a building, and I'm going to draw one down the bottom here. I guess we could, I'll drag and drop the style into it later, but I'm going to first of all make a line that more or less parallels the wall I want to fill in, and then looking out to the front and out to the front. Finish. I could put an extra, to put an extra vertex in, and like we did before, you can get rid of vertexes if you don't want them. That one there, can right click rather than go add vertex, I can go remove vertex. That's looking better. Okay, so maybe we just change the size of this a little bit until the facade looks like I want it to look. Yep, that one in. Yeah, we'll do a bit better than that. Actually, it's the wrong facade, isn't it? So let's put the right one on. Facade, was it? Yeah, marble and stone, was it? Let's see. No, concrete and glass. Piano, that one there. Yeah, that'll do. And I mean, I could stretch it out a little bit more. We might get a little bit another unit in there. Stretched out far enough. Maybe not. Nope, there we go. And yep, that'll do. And so we can just push that and rotate it into place and interlace it. So stretch that up. And push it in. Take a little bit of time to line it up nicely. Okay. Slide it back a little bit. And you could even, if you like, just add the balconies only and leave the rest there. Stretch it up a little bit to reach the height. Pretty close, I think. All right, so looking a lot better, a lot more like the actual building. Still, we're missing something. What am I thinking I'm missing? Well, there's some windows up the top would be nice. Also, there's going to be there is a veranda around the outside. So there's quite a big veranda around the outside, and there's this nice glass atrium sort of thing in there. How the heck do we do that? All right, so again, interlacing. I'm going to make a building, come into plan view for it, make another building. It doesn't matter for the style at the moment. I'm not sure quite how far that veranda goes down there, but we'll see how we go. So there, run it along to there or so, back in, and something of that sort of shape. Another building. Going to put a different facade on that. In this case, we actually just can use a color. It was blue around the outside. So if we go to, materials, there is a group here called colors, and we can choose a color. Or we can probably just use this facade here in the stack on the side. So in here, I can go more styles. I can go color, and I can choose one. Now let's have a look. That's the color I used before. Not that one. I think it's that one. That's what I'm going to use. Going to go OK, and we get a block of blue. And again, I'm just going to change its height. Right to the top of this one, but it's actually going to be just a very thin veranda, and I'll move it up to the level that I want it. Which will be, could be a bit thinner actually. It could be, what have I got here? Let's make it 0.5 a meter. Yeah, it's way too thick. 0.5, half a meter thick, and just position it at the top of the first story here. Okay, getting close. Now the thing that I struggled with, or was trying to decide, oh, we better put some roofing on that, hadn't we? Roofing, material, roofing. Where are we? Roofing. Grey ribbed, I think it was metal ribbed. Do that one. Let's see what that looks like. Yep, roof material, that's pretty much what's there. Maybe a little big, perhaps, so I can just push it back into the building a little bit. The overhang on that side. No, actually, no, the overhang's about right. Yep. So the clock tower, little bit blank at the moment. How can we improve that? So it took me a while to sort of think about this and ponder how I what I might use, but I jumped into the city furniture. And we've got all sorts of things in here, one of which is a manhole cover. So if we go around, there we go, round metal drain. I thought, hey, that looks pretty good. So I basically just scanned through all the ones I could find. I'm going to plot that on the ground. And we can use the parameters of this thing to change it. So first of all, I want to rotate it. So we go into the properties rather than the stack. A lot of these things are not in the stack. So here we've got scales, we've got translate X and Y. We've got to rotate. So if I rotate it about the X axis by 90, if we tick auto update at the top, it makes these changes as we do it. So yep, straight away, looking pretty good. I'm going to rotate it about the Y-axis now, 45. No, sorry, wrong one. 0. Z-axis. X, Y. What axis is that? Try out the Z, but I'm not sure that's going to do it the right way. No, that was a scale. Rotate Z 45. There we go. All right, and then I can scale it up by whatever I want and go maybe 2, 3. 3. And you probably want to do 3 more dimensions, to be honest. All right, so take that up, and it's something close-ish to the actual clock dials, which is nice. And then I thought, well, you know, we're going to have to do a little better than that. So, pull that out. Fine adjustments once I get it up there. We're going to position it where we want. Pull it out, pull it in. Pretty good. And we've got a dial at least. So then I thought, what I really want is some hands on there. So I had another check through the city furniture and came across the barrier. I think they called it a barrier. Concrete barrier, no, not with graffiti, this one, concrete barrier. And look at the end shape of that. I thought, aha. So we can scale it. Again, in the use the properties. Scale it about, let's try about, I'm not sure if it's X or Y, but let's make it 0.3. No, wrong one, but I'll keep that anyway. This should be about the X, 0.3. There we go. And we get some hand looking things. So again, we'll just reposition it, stick it into the, I apply material to this one, in fact, through the, I didn't need to, but through here, no, begging pardon, can't on this one. reposition it, change its scale and things to where I want it to be, and slide it into my clock face. Come back here. Inside my building at the moment. Yes, it was. Some eyes for close work, etc. Well, play around with that position just nicely, but again, without needing to go and find a whole clock, although I guess you might be able to find a clock on SketchUp. Oh, by the way, you can see how this thing's trying to snap. It won't let me move it exactly where I want. It's trying to snap onto other objects. Sorry, beg your pardon, if I grab on that. If you want to override that, you hold down the Control key, and that allows you to place it anywhere without snapping on things. So this one looks like a resolution thing. Oops, need to grab it. Grab that. There we go. Okay. Hours of fun to be had. Okay, so there's some other things sticking out the top of this. There's some little spikes, aerials and things sticking out the top of there that are data aerials to the various controls for things like civil defense and those sorts of things sticking out the top there. But we're going to just take a step forwards here and go and have a look perhaps at a finished result. Let's go and have a look at that. So keep going with this, play around with it till the cows come home. The actual building has a slope on the green part at the top. Again, you could do that in AutoCAD if you really, really wanted to, but I think I've got a fairly close result anyway, so let's go and have a look at that. So if I go to my finished one, standard facades, and we'll talk about putting photos on these things. So getting close, I've used some little barriers up in here to put in there's like a scaffold shape underneath the clocks. These things here, these little aerials that I'm using, they are lampposts I've turned upside down. So you can do heaps with what's actually already in there. Yes, these clops actually stick up above that. But let's go and have a look at the building across the road just while we're getting through the details. Is that we've got the cinema across the road. Now, I've played around with the styles. There's one there that's pretty close actually to what's on that cinema on the other side of the road. If we go back to our little picture over here, this one here, it's not bad. It's sort of a yellowy color. It's got a curved end on it. I was reasonably happy with that. However, the front of it has the big state cinema signage and all that sort of stuff. Nothing really in Infraworks was close to that. So you have the ability to put a photograph on these faces. It loses the 3D look, with the 3D depth, but it goes back to a flat facade, but you can put a photograph on there. So the way we do that is I go and make our own material. So material doesn't really matter where I put it, I suppose. Fence and barrier, maybe I put that in. Yep, that'll do. All right, so one of these materials, I can duplicate one that's there already. And give it a name, we'll call it cinema. And we can change its dimensions. So that's the cinema one. So we want to measure put a material that applies over the whole front of the building. Now to get a photograph of this, best if you went out and actually took a photograph in reality. As I live about 45 minutes away from this, I didn't do that. Instead, I used good old Google Street View again. And so I got this. So this is the best photograph I can get of the whole front of this thing out of Google Street View. Hopefully you might be able to get better from your own buildings. So I then put that in the image editor and stretched it, squashed it, straightened it out until I ended up with this. So we're getting close. What would have probably been good is to take the left-hand side of this photograph and then gone further down the road in Google Street View and taken the photograph coming back the other way, and which would have stopped this distortion on the right-hand side, where it's getting quite stretched out, and sort of joined them in the middle. That probably would have been quite a nice way to work. But I haven't done that in this case, and it actually works out okay. So having straightened that out and squished it around and distorted it in the image editor and trimmed it all back, we've now got this photograph we can apply to the facade. So state mod PNG is what I've called it. All right, so we want to apply that to this material. We need to measure the front face of this thing first. So let's do a, sorry, not a select, a measure from point to point distance from there, and grab it. Try that again. Point to point distance. There we go. And you can measure the width of it, 30.1, and the height of it, 6.7 or 8. And make a material of that size. So let's go into this, going to edit it. And here's the width and height. It's going to apply whatever photograph we put on this material. So this one here, I'm going to make a width of, what did I say, 30.3, and height of 6.9. Oops, 6.9. There we go. And then I'm going to choose the photograph that I want. So it's going to be desktop, IW Facade Webcast, state mod. Now, this tells you that it's actually taken that photograph and put it into the resources for this model, into the data files, if you like, for this model. Which is nice. So, you know, we don't need to worry about that photograph moving on my network or wherever I've stored it. It's actually put it in the model now. We'll go OK. And all we should need to do is drag and drop that onto just that wall of the facade. I think I've got it selected here, which is not what I wanted to do. So deselect that out of the command and drag and drop it just onto that wall. There we go. Beauty. Too easy. It would be nice. I could have done that to paint these little arrows out, of course. Better if you're taking your own photograph, you know, from directly opposite across the street would be much better. You didn't have to worry about the distortion, but nonetheless, we're getting a facade there, a photograph facade. Next thing we might want to do is put another awning around this one, add some street furniture, things like that. We're getting towards the end of time now, but we'll switch to one that I prepared earlier. And that is the photo facade here. So did exactly the same thing, but then dressed up the scene. All right, and so we have our building. Oh, what I also did in here is find another building facade in here and simply interlaced some more buildings here to give those windows up in the roof. And that, to my mind anyway, is pretty close, given we haven't actually had to model anything. Oh, haha, let's have a look at this. Oh, where's my veranda? Oops, my veranda's gone over there. Never mind, I'm going to pull it out and stick it on the front of, I think it goes something like that actually, of that building. Add some people to the scene, and straight away people would actually recognize that as being A, the council building, and B, cathedral up the end. That's just a standard facade, that one, but nonetheless, you recognise that as the cathedral up the end of the road, and put in a few buildings and things. This thing, here's my little atrium bit of glass. Now, I haven't gone to the extent of taking a photograph for that. What I have done is applied a colour, but it's a black colour, but it has a transparency to it. So if you haven't done that before, let me show you how to do that. It's the alpha value of the color. So if I click on here, go more styles, let's make a color. In this case, let's make it I don't know, let's say it's black we don't want. Let's say we want a blue color, maybe go for dark blue. Well, no, lighter blue. And make the alpha channel here. That is the transparency. 255 is completely opaque. 0 is completely transparent and invisible. I'm going to make it 50. And go OK. And it should now be much different. Oh, it's hard to see a difference between that and the black. Try a different one then. Let's go for red. Oh, it's still updating. That's no, sorry, my mistake. Color. Interesting, that one's not. Begging your pardon. This is a building. Well, I've just applied it to that. So this, in order to make that shape, I made it a building. Okay, so that is actually, if I move it out, a building. That's the roof of the building. That's how I got the parallelogram, so that's what it's called, pyramid shape. So yes, I've been just changing the color of the wall there, which is not what I wanted. I want to change the color of the roof, in which case we've got to go back to the materials here. Look for a color material colors. Here we go. And we've got various alphas. Now that's how you put a color on the roof. So if I wanted yellow alpha 50, so transparent yellow, that would be that one. As you can see, it's changed already. Yeah, okay. My mistake, I was changing the walls of this building. I should have been changing the roof, just dragging and dropping onto it. And so black alpha 50. And these you can just make up as, duplicate it, change the color, change the alpha value as a material. And that's exactly what I did on the black alpha 50. So the 70 was too black, but when you drag and drop that onto there, now we're getting, actually maybe the 70 would be better. Yep, 70 is better than 50. All right, so less alpha, less transparent. But again, that's just the roof of a building. If I Control D, duplicate it, put it out here, and it's just a pyramid, like you get in the Louvre or something like that, and it just happens to be mostly inside that building, so you can't see most of it. All right, and so with the finished result, a little bit of playing around, probably took, I don't know, half a day or something to make that. We get a streetscape that's easily recognizable by anybody who is a local here for being the center of town. You pick that straight away. Going back to have a look at here, there's a cathedral down the end, the hill behind. I'm not sure I've got some of the hill behind, I think of this, but not all of it. The hill behind actually gets quite big, quite tall, quite a long way back. So I probably haven't got that in my model. But we've got the state cinema frontage, we've got these verandas around the edge, we've got the cars, people, light poles and things like that. There is an Australian-New Zealand country kit. You'll find it floating around on the web in some very tricky places, but basically the guys in Autodesk Australia made it for us. If you're wanting that, drop us a line. I'll give you an email address we can drop it to. But having a look back in here, we've got a lot of these things like the power poles. Oh, sorry, these aren't power poles. These are traffic lights, but there's power poles as well for Australia and New Zealand. They're all city furniture. You actually get some roading curves and things, the Lost Roads rules built in as well, all from this thing called the Australian New Zealand Country Kit. So if I put up the top of my search in here for the city furniture, ANZ, it should show you what it loads up. So we've got various light poles for this part of the world. We've got road signs, the standard, giveaways and things like that, stop signs that we have here, regulatory signs for turns and curves and keep left and all those sorts of things. And we've got a kangaroo, we've got speed limits, got a kangaroo crossing there. We've got a, what does this one say? Rotate that one around. Okay, how fast are you going now? Motorway sign and all sorts of other things in there. So that's in the Australian New Zealand Country Kit. If you want that, drop us a line to solutions@a2ktoechnologies.com.au. I'll give you that at the end of the webcast. These were not made by us, but they are distributable to anybody who wants them. They're actually made by Woodisc Australia. However, there's one in here you might be interested in, and you've probably seen it flying around, is the little helicopter. Now, I did animate that one, and so if you want an animated helicopter, I was annoyed with all the helicopters had no animated blades. So this is actually from SketchUp, so all credit to the guy that actually built this in SketchUp in the first place, but it was not animated. So I took it into 3ds Max, animated it, and if you want that, you can also email to solutions@a2ktoechnologies.com.au. They'll get hold of me and I can send you the files. Tell me what you wanted, the country kit or the helicopter, or both. If you're going to put the helicopter in, when you first put it in, like I rotated that clock dial you can see over in the background there, rotate it sort of forwards about 15 degrees or so, and gives it a little bit more a look as if it's clawing its way through the sky. And then once you've done that, you can then rotate it in any direction you want, and fly it in the direction you want. All right. I think that's pretty good. I think I've covered most of the things I wanted to point out. There's things that are going to be useful for you when you're trying to do these sorts of things for yourself. But as I say, that is pretty much going to be recognizable to anybody that lives here, especially with the trees going down the main road. They're back there in the original drawing there. Okay, all right, so let's switch back to the PowerPoint now. There we go. Oh, this is the PowerPoint. So I've done our little demo and shown you some new things that perhaps you might not have seen before. Perhaps some things you may not have thought of before, hopefully. If you want those country kit, the ANZ country kit for Infraworks, and also the little helicopter, that's the place we want to put it, solutions@a2ktoechnologies.com.au. While that's up on screen, let's have a look at any questions that have come in from anybody. All right, yep, we got some here. So, an Ifc file. Okay, let's have a look at an IFC. If we don't get a chance to answer all of these things, I'll get back to the people that we haven't answered. IFC file under data sources. I'm trying to remember, I don't think I've actually ever done an IFC, but here it is, IFC. The question was, how do I place it? It'll be the same as a 3D model, or should be. So if I go 3D model, The thing is that they probably won't be georeferenced. So that'll be probably the question. How do you place it? So let me see, desktop, Infraworks, what maybe in there. Day two, 3D models. Oh no, it's the DAE. Oh, I'll place one of these. Just this telephone pole. So that's not part of Infraworks, but if you're reading an IFC, the same thing happens. It says it's not configured when you bring it in, or if you're reading actually a Revit export to FBX, you bring it in the same way as this. When it comes in, it has no placement in it. So what you do is down the bottom here, you click on interactive placing. That allows you to place it wherever you want in your model. You can just double click on the ground to place it, and that's how your IFC would be placed as well. Then it records that as the position you want. You go OK, you close and refresh it, or it refreshes by itself. Oops, did I not do that properly? Well, anyway, once you finish that configure, did I just cancel out of that? Did I? Place it where I want. Go OK, not cancel. It should place it in the model. Oh, I've not completed the configuration, that's why. I didn't tell it what it was. It wants to be city furniture, or whatever it happens to be, a building, anything else. You should, before you go OK, check that there's no exclamation marks left. Okay, we're good. It's just behind my meeting toolbar there. And go OK. Now it's configured and it should be there. Okay. Gone underground. Oh, it's doing silly things, this one, but that's interactive placing. You'll find that will work. Select the feature. This one's not behaving today for some reason, but the interactive placing is the way it goes. Next question was it being recorded? I believe it's being recorded. Dexter might be able to confirm that for us. He's still there in the background somewhere.
Yeah, guys, so this will be recorded and it's going to get uploaded on the YouTube channel. Thanks,
Dexter. Yep, so go on, up onto YouTube. If you put the title of this webinar in there and the A2K there as well, it should find it just fine. Different gabled roofs. Yes, good question. It won't do a gable roof, but for the other buildings, by default in the model builder, they come in as flat. So when you pick a building, and this is what I did for that glass roof, you can come into here and there's a roof slope. So if I put for a standard roof like this, maybe, I don't know, 20 degrees, and it'll actually do that. It's probably easier to see. Oh, there it goes. So any buildings that you put in, you can do that. If you're reading in your own buildings as data source, you can put in your own default roof slopes. But it doesn't do a gable end. It always does this type of pitched roof that runs to the center of the building. That's because it'll deal with this sort of building as well. So it only really does the roof one way. Let's put that on, I don't know, 30. And then we can drag and drop a material onto that as well. So roofing, and put one of these shingles onto the top. There we go, shingled roof. But that's how you get a pitched roof. And just a couple more questions I think there was there. Right. Okay. Uploaded to the YouTube. Oh yes, it's just got a message there. It's going to be uploaded to YouTube. Another question there. They wanted the helicopter. So if you can actually drop a line to that email address, that's probably the easiest way to get hold of me. Otherwise, I will forget who I've promised it to. So that'll at least make a list of people I can just send it out to and cross people off, if that's okay. So that would be this one here, solutions@atktechnologies.com.au. Just ask for, say you watch this webcast and ask Dean for the helicopter or the ANZ country kit or both. All right, I think that's all the questions done. So if you're wanting to see our upcoming webinars, just go to our website, atktechnologies.com.au, and there's a drop down at the top for events or /events. We'll keep you aware of the upcoming ones. Also, I think if you have already subscribed to one of these, you might be on the mailing list already, perhaps. And thank you very much for watching today. I hope that's shown you something interesting, something you can use. And if you personally have any good ideas and come up with some good ways, other ways of working with building facades, I'd be dead keen to know about them as well. So thank you for watching, and do have a good afternoon if you've made it to the afternoon already. I think most of you will, except the Western Australians. And we must be getting close to, not quite weekend time yet, but have a good weekend when you finally get there. Thanks a lot.